If you've just come in, I'll put the bit.ly in the chat. Welcome, everybody. It's 4:01, so I am going to go ahead and get started for this. It's asking for access. Let me give you that real fast. Sorry about that. Rookie mistake. There you go. If you refresh, you should have no problem. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. While I'm doing that, if you would be so kind as to just put your name in the chat, say who you are, where you're here from, and maybe what brings you to our training today. We get to know each other that way. Go ahead and pop your name in there. Today's session is, again, geared toward teachers and educators, and it's going to be more of a hands-on session than some of our other trainings that we do that might be like the Curious About or things where you're really just watching and learning. This is going to be a little bit more hands-on and exploring, and then some discussion if you wanted to put discussion in the chat, or if you want to at some point when I ask on mic and let us know what you're thinking. We'd appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. It's good to see everybody. There we go. Let me know, everyone can see the chat. Just a thumbs up for me real quick if you can, or the presentation. All right, looks like we have people from a lot of different places coming today. Thank you for putting your name in there. If you're just coming in, please put your name in the chat where you're from and a little bit about what might be bringing you here today. Learning more about AI. Awesome. We have a kindergarten teacher, TK, high school. We've got a whole bunch of different um, backgrounds today. All right. So today's session is, again, a hands-on session. You'll get an opportunity to try out some different AIs. But the premise of the session was to give educators and even possibly administrators access to a slide deck that is not meant to be looked at necessarily in sequential order. So the idea is that each slide in this deck covers a topic of AI that you might want to use at, say, the beginning of a lesson or the beginning of a meeting, or in ways to get students talking about AI. I am noticing we have some TK teachers, so that they might need some adjustments, or it might just be for your own learning in terms of maybe getting parents to start thinking about lessons. We do have a TKK expert, and I believe she's planning on doing something geared toward those students that will be very hands-on in the near future. So when we get into the slide deck today, the formatting of it will be, again, a little bit of hands-on, a little bit of discussion, and giving you kind of some quiet time to do some exploring of those slides and then coming back and talking about them. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a little housekeeping as we're starting out. The session is being recorded, so if you do not want to be on camera, please make sure that you turn off your camera. And then I also wanted to let you know that my director, Alicia Gallegos Butters, is here. She'll be kind of helping me with the chat and in and out of being on video camera as well. So it's super great to have you all here. I know that giving your time to something like this is not always easy, so I appreciate you being here and I appreciate you spending this time with us. Okay, just to go over some upcoming events that we have that our department offers. We do have a Back to Basics Google session coming up soon, as well as an accessibility session that will be looking at the Back to Basics is on Google Slides. So if you're new to computing in general and you want to learn how to create those, that's for very beginner entry-level teachers. The accessibility and AI powered access is my colleague Carrie Lane will be doing that presentation. It's just like this one. It'll be in the afternoon, and you can click on our registration form directly there. We also have just something fun to know, an esports tournament coming up this weekend for middle school and high school students. If you want to know more about that, again, on our website, and I'm going to take you there in just a second, you can find out more information. So at the bottom of this slide, you can click on the link. It takes you to our website, which will pop up here in a second. And if you scroll down, you can always go to our calendar of events to see what other opportunities we're offering online. Our afternoon online sessions like these are always free. Feel free to pass this link on to anyone who might be asking you. As you can see, upcoming events still for October. We're down to our last one. That's me today. And then we also have an esports tournament coming up in November, Back to Basics, and you can see that accessibility. If you'd like to know what's happening for the rest of the year, we have that here listed as well. Okay. All right. So again, the structure of the class today is really just starting off with an introduction of why we're creating these slides, how they're to be used. If you missed that when you were first coming in, I'll talk about it a little bit. I'll talk to you about the slide deck and how it is structured. And then I'm going to just jump in and we'll start by taking a look at the first section. I'll give you some time to explore around in it, and then we'll come back and talk. So just scrolling down to the next slide, I'll start here. The slide deck is, again, created with the idea that these are slides that are not in a linear order. They can be if you want to go through them that way. It's really up to you. Our idea was to give you slides that you could use in either whole class scenarios or possibly in small groups for students to get either discussion starters or to have scenarios that they talk through with you. And there's a whole section on a bunch of different AI tools for them to explore. So the formatting of it is starting with, and I'm just going to kind of scroll through the slides here real quick. We have AI data gathering. I'm going to go back down here and show you the next one is AI interactions. Again, those are all the sort of hands-on things. We'll get to those next. And then we have some discussion scenarios. As we discover more topics, you'll have access to the slide deck, and you might come in and see some new ones added in there as they seem to become more appropriate. So this is a living slide document. And again, as we find more tools, as we find other things you might be interested in, we'll pop them in and they might just show up one day. So getting started here at data gathering in the slideshow. The idea of this was that if you're starting out a lesson or you're starting a parent meeting or you're starting a meeting with teachers, that you could begin with a poll. And it's a great way of gathering data, finding out who your users are, who your students are, who the people are that might be joining you in this AI adventure, and having some really good questions that can allow you to get to know them. So there are a couple of different polling tools out there if you're interested in that. Poll Everywhere is a great one that you can integrate directly into Google Slides, Mentimeter, Jotform, and Strawpoll. All four of these can be used to put in the questions that you'll see in the next few slides. I gave you the pricing information. They all are freemium, so you have a basic level of using these tools that are free. And I gave you some get started videos if that helps you learn how to use that polling tool. Again, these tools are not necessarily AI. They're not the star of the show today, but I wanted to make sure I gave you a basic foundation in how you could get that information around AI from your students. So there's 4 different types of polls that I am suggesting in here. There's gathering baseline knowledge, information about use and familiarity, ethics and concerns, and then future interests. So I'll just start with the first one here. This might be something that you use the slide exactly as you see it, and this could be discussion starters in class, where you informally kind of just have students tell you which level are you at here, or again, put it into those poll generators and gather the information with the live data and data visualization. So this one would just say, how well you understand what AI or artificial intelligence is. And what I'm going to ask you to do right now, we'll just call the A, B, C, and D. In the chat, can you tell me right now, how well you understand AI and what artificial intelligence is. Give me an a B, a C, or a D. I probably should have labeled those better. Okay, I'm seeing some B's and some A's. Okay, so we've got people that understand it really well, know a little bit about it. Perfect. So we're getting the idea here that we can use it, we can find out who our audience is. I'm seeing I have a lot of people interested in AI, have been using it already, and that's telling me you're going to do great on this next section. So what I'm going to do is go out of the slide deck. I have my phone here, and I would just like to set the timer for about 3 minutes. And I'm going to ask you just to stay within that. I'll make it 5 minutes. Stay within that area. When you're looking at the slides, if you want a little bit more background information on how this question might be helpful to you, go ahead and pull up on the notes section right here. And each slide has a little bit more background information for you on how it might be helpful to use it and what you might use it for. So again, I'm going to set my clock here for 5 minutes, give you some time to explore. And then when that 5 minutes is up, I'll unmute myself and we can have a discussion. I'd kind of like to know what you think about the questions, if there's any that you feel were left out. I'll be taking notes. And again, as a living document, that means I can add things in and I will take your feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and start. 5 minutes. You're going to have me not talking and we're ready to go. About 10 seconds left. Okay, so that's time for these first few questions and slides. Let me go ahead and share my slide deck again. And then I would just like to offer the opportunity now for that open discussion around the slides. What did you think of the gathering, the polls? I saw there was a lot of discussion in there being put in, so I want to give you the opportunity to ask about that. I see you're asking me to address certain slides, so if I don't know your first name, but if you don't mind unmuting, let's go ahead and have that open discussion. So would anyone like to unmute? Any questions that you have, or do you think that you would use these with students?
Maybe slide 14 is specifically privacy. There are a number of privacy issues as educators that we need to be aware of that
Mhm.
AI, I think a lot of times can breach or broach that. The idea of accuracy so far on a number of
Mhm.
different occasions, Google, as well as Microsoft and a couple of other ones have shown to be at times inaccurate. Um, the interest of AI in education. Since
Mhm.
we're all educators, I think that's a big thing that we all want to be able to look like. No matter what happens, we are going to, at some point, all of us are going to have to, how should I say this, use and deal with AI in our everyday classrooms. What will that look like?
Mhm.
The United States Department of Education, I believe, put out within the last week or so, for the first time, guidelines for using AI, but it sounded like they're still trying to get input, much like you are here today, in regards to how does that need to be addressed? Um, Lawmakers, health professionals, educators, that kind of thing as
Yeah.
well. But I completely agree. Eventually, at some point, there will be full integration, but I think that integration is going to take place over a period of a number of years.
Well,
Um,
um,
so anyway,
thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So you brought up slide 14 specifically, but yes, if you so one of the great things about this slide deck is you can always go over you can keep this one because again, I said it was going to be a living a slide deck, but if you slide over and you go to make a copy, you can make yourself a copy and adjust these slides in any way that you would want to. Definitely, and I will take, I'm looking again, I'm writing down your suggestions and things that you're interested in under those notes for slide 14. So I'll go ahead and go over there um, and share my screen because I'm not sure if this is a question other people have. And I'll say this and then I'll kind of go back to allowing the open conversation. So if I look at slide 14, um, you had here like what would you care most about? So yeah, these are definitely things that we would want to garner from students. We might want to garner that from other educators if we're planning on using this. If you're an administrator and you just want to start off a meeting every day with something having to do with an AI discussion, that's a quick discussion. So, in terms of protecting people's privacy, this would be a great place to begin a conversation around not putting in personally identifiable information into AI. It would be a great place to begin conversations with students as well as teachers. So if teachers are grading, should they be uploading a whole document with the student's information, like name and, you know, the school you're at, things like that? We need to have those conversations with students that, if an AI is asking for that kind of information, it's probably not the tool that you're wanting to use. If you have to create an account that way, or if it's asking you specifically for grade information or anything that would be considered under HIPAA or COPA, even FERPA in terms of uploading images of yourself. So knowing what your district's AI policies are going to be very important when you have these conversations with students. I can't tell you what those, that's the conversation with you and your district and your schools, but having a little bit of a background with that would be important. In terms of slides 17 and 18, just to address your same person there, um, on these, what kinds of supports would you feel more prepared to teach with tools? This is a starting point, and you definitely could feel free to add in anything here. Again, the discussions down below kind of give you a little idea about why you might ask this information of people that you're working with. So Nora, that was, I think, me talking to you. Does any other things that people wanted to talk about on those slides or things you're curious about with the slides themselves?
I guess for me,
Hmm.
being an older teacher, it's like I didn't get any of this stuff in school, the AI stuff. I mean, I use a lot of AI because I work online and I'm learning every day. But for me, it's hard 'cause I teach special ed. I teach high school. So it's very hard to find age appropriate things in lessons. Like when a kid's reading at a first grade kindergarten level and they're in 10th grade,
Hmm.
and they show little Johnny and little Susie playing with a teddy bear. It's just not age appropriate. So for me to create stories, and you see things on TV like type in a YouTube picture, a YouTube video, and make a lesson out of it. I'm like, I want to know how to do that. I have no clue how to do that, and it's probably some kind of app you got to buy. I have no clue. So I would like to learn how to do that because a lot of my stuff, my kids are autistic. They need that visual. They
Yes.
need all that. They need hands-on moving parts. And right now I'm using slideshows. I'm using PowerPoints. I'm using Kava as best as I can, or how do you pronounce it, as best as I can. But Kava isn't as advertised. Type in something and we'll just make the slideshow for you. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way in my class. I have to have
Yeah.
movable parts. Like my kids are working with like, counting $10 bills, and $5 bills and moving them into the proper areas. So that's what I'm looking at for more just like perfecting my lessons and making my lessons better
Hmm.
and more interactive and less paper pencil 1980s style teaching.
Yeah, so you can see that even by putting these questions up here for you to look at, I'm already getting information about what you all are wanting. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be showing those things in this session today, but it does help to inform other sessions that we'll be doing. So if you're asking your students kind of these similar questions, though, then you're going to learn from them. Hey, I would like to learn how to generate images so that I can tell a story, or that parents out there might be interested in that as well. So these questions, again, are things that we're looking at. Could you take these and put them in front of groups of people that you might be working with to garner information from them? So I'm garnering information from you during this training today, but I'm also giving you tools to go out and do that with your own populations of students. So does anyone see that they might use these prompts with their students in some way? Are they helpful?
Think to a certain degree. The school I work for, and I see a few of my colleagues here,
Hmm.
we work with homeschool independent study students, and so a lot of their work is done online, but
Hmm.
away from us. So at least in my program, we have them go through like an academic integrity process
Hmm.
where they learn about our school's rules, regulations, and policies, and what is academic integrity up front, including AI. So I feel like this could be a useful tool to let them know what is acceptable and what's not.
Yeah.
What is AI? Because some of them don't really know. These are just
Hmm.
kids, so they don't know what AI is or even how to use it. So I kind of like some of these.
Well, and in terms of student voice and starting from what your students know, if you're not asking the questions and getting that information from them, then you're kind of just going in the dark. So that was the point of these first few slides was what are the questions we should be asking our students, or if you're a trainer of teachers, we should be asking teachers, and then from that, can we build out activities? Okay, so I'm going to keep my eye on the time here. So what I'd like to do next is if in your slide deck, you can slide on down. We're going to go to slide 19, And this is kind of where I'm going to give you a lot of hands-on time, and then we'll have some more conversations. So those of you who are looking for what could I actually do with students as a quick interaction of what AI is and what it can do, and maybe even be discussion starters, I put together, and I'll just kind of glance through them here, individual slides with single activities that you could then take this one slide. I'm not looking at this as let's put this whole slide deck together and have students go through every single one of these in one lesson. You could, but the idea here was how could I introduce just a little bit of AI every day, maybe have a discussion question around it, maybe take one of those top slides, ask the question, get an interactive slide, have students do an action, and then find a slide deck that then, when we get to the next level of questions, I could put something like that with it. And then I could have 3 slides that kind of go together, or these could just be one quick activity each day. Um, the the they could, if you do journal writing with your students and you've got a question you ask and they have to write something, or if you, again, once a week, you want to have, well, we're going to talk about AI once a week so that I make sure I'm having these digital citizenship type discussions. Or I'm going to be leading a parent um, committee and we want to learn about AI, then this is one thing that I can do in those meetings. So in this list, each one of these slides has a little bit of a discussion around, what kind of AI it is, what's the point of this thing that you would be clicking on. And then again, as you scroll up from the notes section, you'll see there's just background information for whomever would be hosting this slide. So if you need a little bit of knowledge and you want to go in and learn a little bit about this information, and yes, I can put the slide deck in for you. Um, then these would be the places to go. So I had one that I wanted to walk us through as a group. Let me get, oh, thank you, Alicia. Perfect. Which is slide number 24. So what I would like you to do as a group, just to kind of experience this one, this is called Quick Draw, and this is sort of what I would do with a group if I was showing them this one slide. And what we're learning about AI is that AI actually can recognize um, drawings, and it is doing that because it's trained on data sets. So to begin this activity, what we're going to do is just click on the square. It will bring up a link to the application itself, and that looks sort of like this when you bring it up. And I just want you to experience the application itself. So when it comes up, you will click on Let's Draw. You might want to keep yourself muted because it's going to talk to you. I am supposed to draw a prison in under 20 seconds right now. So I'll say, got it. And I can come in here and I can just start to draw, I don't know, bars. It's telling me it sees food, prison. So it got it pretty quickly. Then it's going to ask me to draw a castle. And I'm going to let you do this while I am sitting here playing. So I'm going to stop, just go through, and I'm going to let you do it. I'm going to mute myself. I will give you 2 minutes to look at this, and then we'll talk about this, and then I'm going to let you look at the whole slide section for a little while. So 2 minutes to play with it. And I'm going to mute so you don't have to hear me. And I will stop sharing.
Very interactive and funny.
I loved how it showed the different drawings of what it also thought your drawing looked like these.
Unless you were a really good drawer. Um, like I think there was a flamingo and maybe an osprey, and it's like, yeah, my art talent is only so good.
Yeah, so it's well, thumbs up if you liked it, if you thought it was kind of fun and engaging to interact with. Yeah, it's a good one. So with this activity, it's quick and it does show you can actually dip back into this one for a number of things. It could just be to experience AI and have it guess what you're doing. And you can have discussions around that at that level. What I love about Quick Draw, there's a link right here, and let me share my screen again. On that same launch page, so you can look at this in a different way. And what I always tell students when I'm doing this with them or adults is I remember back in the day when they were training this AI. So it used to be quick draw, and it would give you a topic, shoes, castle, whatever, and you would draw for it. And then it would just basically say, thank you. And then it'd ask you the next one, and you would draw it, and it would ask you the next one, and you would draw it. So it was in a training stage at that point. The next level was that it then took all that drawing information and it created data sets and it switched to where it's doing what you see it doing now, which is guessing what you're drawing. So what this link right here, where it says the world's largest doodling data set, is really interesting for students to come in and take a look at. It can teach the idea of training a data set, right? Because you can look here and you can see all of the different tools that it used to create. But you can also go in to like, let's just look at a pair and you can see all the different varieties. So it's giving you information. There's 114,474 drawings in here that it needed in order to be able to identify what a pair is. So that's just interesting on that back end idea of AI. Another thing people use it for, though, is really to talk about AI in terms of AI bias. So that was something that someone brought up, accuracy and bias, and how can that get into data sets? Because we always tell students that generative AI is only as good as the data that it's programmed on. And that can be kind of conceptually a little hard for students or people to understand. This gives you it in kind of a visual format. So if I go down and I click on, oh, let's look at a shoe, for instance, you can see that it's going to come up with all these images of what a shoe is. And if I start talking to students about which of those shoes would you kind of characterize as female shoes and which ones might you characterize as male shoes? We all know that women can wear sneakers and women can wear boots. But if you were trying to train an AI and all it had in here was something that someone identified as a female shoe has a high heel, then you can begin to see where there's going to be very fewer instances of a female shoe versus a male shoe. And then we can begin to see kind of that idea of bias in the algorithm. What I'd like to give you time to do again right now is to go back into this AI interaction section. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and then I'll come back and see how we're doing. I might go ahead if you want more time, because I know this is really pretty much the biggest interactive section that we have. To go in and just play with some of the different tools in the different slides, just like you did here. The images are connected, but just by clicking on the image itself, and that takes you to a link where you can go in and look at it. Again, pull up on those notes if you want to know a little bit more behind what this tool might teach in terms of AI and why it would be just a good quick introduction for people. Anyone have any questions on the next 5 minutes here and what we're going to do? So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and start my clock. I'm unmuting myself. If you want to turn off your cameras, you can. I'll leave mine on and just give you some time to explore through that next section. Okay, that's my timer. Just give me a thumbs up if you, let me ask it this way. Thumbs up if you would like a little more time to play with these. I can give you like 3 more minutes or so looking at the time. If you use your reactions, or you can just give me a thumbs up like this. If you're ready to go, would you just say ready to go in the chat? And Laura, yes, I'll put the link in here for you. I have a few people with the thumbs up would like more time, and I've got some ready to goes. All right. You got a thumbs up in the chat. I'm assuming that's you're ready. Okay, okay. Thank you, Michelle. And I just noticed that I think I missed putting the Canva link in there so that if you refresh your page, that link is in there. Someone had said that the tic-tac-toe one wasn't quite ready. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 1 minute. I'll compromise. For those of you just kind of finishing up, I'll set my clock and really try to stick to that. Okay. So that was time. Any thoughts on those? Anything you have questions about, or want a little more explanation on what the actual app is? Feel free to unmute. It's a nice size group today. Any apps that you could see using with your class? You can put that in the chat, or you're welcome to unmute. Thank you, Teresa. Yeah. Um, I tried to put in a good mix of things that are out there and available with AI. Anyone have a favorite one?
There's one I like called Goblin Tools.
Mm-hmm.
It helps with organizing and breaking down complex tasks. Goblin.tools.
I can put that way. I'm very familiar with that one. That is a good
Yeah.
one. And it's a quick look at it, right?
Mhm.
That could make a good slide. Did anyone look at the Exploring Sound through AI app, which is number 28? We could do a quick tour of that. This one kind of blew my mind, and I think it's actually my favorite one out there right now. Just allows you to play with sounds that are everyday sounds recorded. Again, they've created a data set, And I'll share my screen and just show it to you, and then we'll move on to the last part. 'Cause we're doing good on time. So for this slide, this is slide number 28. And if you click on the image, it takes you here. So this creates beats using sounds from everyday world. You can learn a little bit about it by clicking on this link, but if I go into the start playing, you can see they have air being released. If I click on it, you should hear a sound. There we go. Are you able to hear those sounds? A bell tree and an animal lion. So you can move those if you as you move your cursor around, you can pick different sounds. So bottle pill. I can bring the plastic bag down here. All these little pinpoints are a different sound that they've collected. And then when you go to play it, it just creates beats out of it. You can change the tempo. And it just allows students to kind of explore the sound, but it's also showing you collect these things, you put them into a data set. So I thought this one was kind of fun just to play with a little bit. All right. And again, that's the idea behind these. They teach a little bit about AI. They get your hands on something kind of fun. They can be discussion starters. The information here is really for the people playing with them. And then the information that you find down here is if you want a little background information. So as you introduce it, you can say, this is why we're playing with this one today. This is what we're learning about AI. And again, the idea is those conversation starters. Um, the music effects one is pretty fun too. So really my litmus test for choosing these was, is it fun to play with? Is it brief? Does it teach something around AI? So we have all of these slides down here. And our last section, these were built out just to be starting conversations with students or starting conversations with parents on AI topics again, so that you can learn a little bit about what they know. Um, I'm going to give just 3 minutes for you to kind of look through these, and I don't think they really need discussions from me. But what I do think you'll find is as you start reading through them, and as we've been talking with students, we've discovered a lot of times they have questions around what is permissible in class. So you'll see some of these scenarios just are kind of talking a little bit about what is AI, giving younger students kind of an introduction to it and some discussion starters that you can have with them. But then as we get down to slides 35 through about slide 40, um, these slides can be used in a couple different ways. They could be journaling topics. They could be things that you have students talk about in pairs and then as a whole class discussion. But the idea was to put in some ethical um, conversational pieces around AI so that you can begin to have those conversations with them about what your policies are for your classroom or what policies are at the school or again at even a district level, depending on where you're coming from. So I'm going to give just like, I think we only really need 2 or 3 minutes to look at these, and I think you'll get the idea. And then again, I'm going to be looking for people with questions on what the topics are and maybe what how you might use them. I will say that all of those scenario slides were created in ChatGPT. So if you go into a large language model, or if we have time and you want me to show you how I do that, going in basically and asking, giving it a scenario and saying, can you write me 3 scenarios for students? Okay, Michelle, I can do that. But let me give 3 minutes for you to look at these. And looking at our time, I think we're doing good. I'm going to set my timer. Please take a look, and then I'll show you the back end of how I created them, because then you can use the formatting of these, but you could create many, 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 many more of your own that meet your specific needs. So I'll do 3 minutes and then we'll have our discussion. About 30 seconds. Okay. So, again, what are your thoughts on some of the scenarios that were brought up? Um, did they get you to start thinking? Are they something, I know some of you have younger students than that, but are these something that you could see using with either teachers or students in general? Sam.
Yes, this is Laura. This past week had a situation with a high school student in AI, and one of the things that we've tried to encourage is that they must be working in their Google Documents
Hmm.
and not because what's happening, they'll try to upload it. We deal with a lot of home study students, so same type of thing some of the other people on here deal with. So we're trying to teach them that it's okay to use AI, but it's to try to to get across that happy medium for these students. It's
Hmm.
really hard right now.
Well, and that's why we really advocate for open communication and these prompts and scenarios like this are good ways to get that discussion going. And the prompts are made to be a little vague. They could be interpreted, is it cheating, is it not? And because we wanted teachers to really take a minute to say, well, what part of this is cheating? When are you not, when is the human part being taken out? When is your critical thinking not engaging? And I would say if you're in the younger grades, you can scale these down to your grade level. But just that even might look like starting just talking about, hey, when are you doing your own thinking? So you might not even mention the word AI, but then it's really around that kind of academic integrity or, how do we teach each other and still have our own unique ideas? Um, how do we maintain learning even when we're, working with a buddy or somebody like that and being responsible for that critical thinking. So AI, if you think of it as like a mentor or a buddy learner when you're using it, it comes back down to that same idea that you have when you're not using AI and you're sitting in front of your mom or you're sitting in front of another person. How do you continue to maintain to learn while using it? So we do have time. Are there any other questions about the slide deck or things that I can help you with on that? If you do, just go ahead and unmic, or if you're ready to move on and you'd like me to quickly show you in ChatGPT, it won't turn into a lesson on ChatGPT, but I can show you how I prompted these. If you're ready to move on, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. So I'll share my screen again. And basically, the way ChatGPT works, and these are conversations for students, and even just going in like this and doing a demonstration for students of how it works. Um, Something to know about ChatGPT, you have to be 13 years or older to have an account, and a lot of districts are pretty strict on that, and I don't blame them. But it looks something like this. When I went in, you create an account. So I've logged into my account already. You can use a Google to do that. You can use an email to do that. Um, it just has this prompt here. What can I help you with? It will remember threads that you've been working on with it. So that's kind of all my threads over there on the side. I took them off to not be distracting, but I can just start talking. I talk to it like I would talk to any person. So I might say, I would like, or I'm a third grade teacher, and I'd like to create a scenario, discussion scenario, and I type better when I'm not thinking about things at the same time, about um, using AI to do your homework. And then I'm going to give it some more parameters that are really helpful. Can you give me 5 examples? Um, 5 examples for each of these categories. And I might say English, language arts, math, and science. And then it's going to do that. So we'll just let it do its thing. I just hit enter. It's thinking. And this, I'm showing you the free version. Nope, I'm showing you my paid version right now. But then I'm on the free version. Okay. So you can see it's just producing writing for me. So it's coming through. It has some story starters, grammar checker. So these are scenarios. A student asks AI to help come up with a starting sentence for the story they're writing. And you could talk with your students. Is that cheating or is that not? At what point is this cheating? Is this something where I should be coming up with them on my own? Again, so you can use them as scenarios in that sense. If you don't like the scenarios, you can say something like, give me more. Or you can start explaining it to the GPT itself, what more you need from it. The more information you go, it's just like a conversation back and forth, the more it's going to produce for you at this level. So I might say, hey, I like the science one. Can you make science number 6 more longer? And it's going to expand on that for me. Okay, so the idea here, you guys can get in there. Magic School works about the same way, and you just have a conversation back and forth with the AI. If you're interested in things like that, we will be hosting other teacher events. We have another one. Our next one coming up is more teacher productivity tools and ways that teachers can use it for lesson planning, and that will be coming up, I believe, in about 2 months, but it's on our events list. It is 5 o'clock, so I did want to thank everyone for coming. We will send out the video, we will send out the slide deck. And at the end of the slide deck, if you get a chance, we have a feedback form for today's presentation. We'd really hope that you can fill that out for us. Let us know what worked for you. Let us know how we can make it better. And we'll follow up. Thanks so much for spending time with us.